What's up, Michigan State fans? It's Jacob Kazaniga here, back for another episode of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. It is Saturday, September 27th. No game this weekend for the Michigan State Spartans. They're off to a 3-1 start. Last game for them was a loss on the road at USC. Tough one, ranked opponent, 11 p.m. kick. Yada, yada, yada. You can visit SpartanNation.com for all the coverage on that game, everything about it since. We've broken down pretty much every detail we can out of that one. Kind of now at the halfway point between that game and the next one. Another road game at Nebraska. That'll be tough. Well, again, we'll break that down that game as it approaches and talk about it after the fact as well. But, using the bye week, though, to just kind of reset, kind of think things through a little bit. I think it's a good time now to kind of take a step back and just kind of talk about the job Jonathan Smith has done. We're 16 games now into the Jonathan Smith era, and by the numbers, we've got an 8-8 record on his card right now, and a 3-7 mark against the Big Ten. Obviously, on paper, that's not great. You aren't going to get by at Michigan State with a overall record of 500 and a record against the Big Ten that is below winning 1 out of 3 games. It's been tough. I mean, they went 3-6 in conference play last year, 5-7 mark overall. Third straight year that MSU missed the bowl game. Obviously, though, not entirely Smith's fault. It was his first year last year, and not off to the greatest start this season as far as Big Ten play. Getting relatively handled semi-easily by USC. That game was a little bit close there at points during the third quarter, but it never really felt like there was no point in that game where it felt like, Michigan State might win this. But, again, things like this can take time. Sometimes I'd like to think like it can be frustrating. I think some of the frustration a lot of people feel stems from what Indiana's doing right now. Kurt Cignetti, you see a program like Indiana, I'd say statistically maybe the worst in the Big Ten, maybe in all of power conferences. I mean, that they just lost and lost and lost probably through almost all of our lifetimes. You never really saw Indiana football become something real. And then this dude, Kurt Cignetti, comes up from James Madison, and steals the show. They made the college football playoff last year, and this year they're looking really good once again. They're 4-0. They just rolled over Illinois last week. It was 63-10, something ridiculous. A score that's kind of horrifying for a ranked matchup. And, I understand. Like, it's tough to look at a program that MSU should be better than and see that program that Michigan State historically has dominated. I believe the all-time series between MSU and Indiana is like 50-20, 50-19, and see Indiana succeed so much and at a historic level for them. It's tough. It's tough. People want a winner. People like winners. Like, that's how sports are in general. Look at the Detroit Lions. The attendance numbers for the Detroit Lions, the average decimal meter probably at Ford Field is probably not the same as it was just a couple years ago before Dan Campbell was there, when Matt Patricia was the head coach. But like, it's I still think right now, year 2, Jonathan Smith, you're seeing a better football team as a whole. I think it's a mixed bag, though, because the offense is better. I definitely think the offense is better. Defensively, different story. They don't look better. They lost their top corner, Charles Brantley, to the portal. I don't know if they have a Charles Brantley this year. And pass rush was a big problem last season, and I don't know if they did enough to address that immediate need. I think they have the horses to maybe make it something better in the future. They have a lot of transfers they brought in that have a lot of eligibility left. Nelly Ofele, he's a guy who was redshirted at Wisconsin last year, he technically leads the team in sacks with 2 of them with Jordan Hall, but it's tough to get at this level in the Big Ten to take a guy who wasn't playing at Wisconsin last year, put him in immediately at Michigan State, and expect that production to truly be there at a high level. And this is with all due respect to an LFA. I think he's got a great future with this program. But when you need sacks right now, redshirt freshmen and younger guys, it's tough, you know. And I really, you see some frustration from fans, and I get it. But I looking at the roster, though, I still think the best course with Jonathan Smith is still to give him time. You know, he's done this before. It took him a couple of years at Oregon State, and easily, you just keep looking it over. You kind of have to think to yourself, he started at Oregon State, which was a much worse spot than what he inherited at Michigan State. I think they went 1-11 his first year, or 1-11, 2-10, something not good at his first year at Oregon State, and he just kind of slowly crept up and crept up and crept up. And I know that was before the transfer portal and everything, but I still think the roster is in a spot where they can show improvement this year. If they can get to a bowl game, I think that's a success. I know people want better than 6-6, 6-7, or 7-6, but the Indiana thing is an exception to the rule. You can't expect to go from 4-8 to 11-2 in one season. You just can't. It doesn't happen often in general. So you just that's Smith's way, is he's going to just get a little bit better every year, a little bit better the next year, and a little bit better the next year. Before you know it, if the thing goes according to plan, you could be looking at a quality Big Ten team, a well above average Big Ten team in a couple of years' time. The roster is in place to be something good next year. I mean, think about it. There's a lot of guys who could. We're making a bold assumption here that no one really important leaves in the transfer portal here, but Aiden Childs has another year. Nick Marsh, he's got to play another year of college football before he's eligible for the NFL draft. Krishan McCray, he's got another year there. Bunch of different guys on the offensive line. They have another year. So it's like Mekhi Frazier, Brandon Tullis, they have 2 more years after this. So, you know, it's stuff like that where you kind of take a step back. Okay, the team's relatively young. You're going to still have your losses like Matt Golban. He's kind of the heart and soul of the offensive line right now. He's gonna be gone. I'm 99% sure. But there's, if they can keep, recruiting well, and kind of developing their pieces. I mean, the recruiting class incoming this year wasn't great. On Rivals, it ranked 14th in the Big Ten. That's not going to cut it, but the next year's recruiting class does look a lot better right now. You already have 5 4-stars in that one compared to 1 this year. Again, it's those small increments. You see a guy like the linebacker Braylon Hodge in there. He's being pursued by Michigan and Texas. He's got an Oregon offer, I believe, now. So you're seeing kind of that talent identification starting to come through a little bit. You're seeing Aiden Childs get a lot better this season. There's reasons for optimism here. It hasn't led to those wins yet, and to me, it kind of feels like for that belief in Smith to really hit with the fan base, they need a big win. They need a big win. I mean, they didn't get one of those last year. They came close against Michigan. They almost won in the Big House last year. I really still think they kind of outplayed U of M in that one, but it was those plays like that Childs fumble right before halftime that led to a Michigan field goal, and Jonathan Kim missing a 22-yarder on the opening drive of the game. That just kind of those small mistakes. I don't know if they're making those types of mistakes right now, at least with the offense and special teams. But they need a big win. I still think that's the next step for Jonathan Smith in his attempt to build this program back up. Is they need to get a win that goes on the national radar. Whether you beat Michigan, get the Paul Bunyan Trophy back, inspire that confidence that you can hang with your rival now again after Michigan's won the last 3 years. They go to Indiana. What if you beat Indiana? That's tough. I don't think they will beat Indiana, but hey, they play the games. Penn State comes to town. If the atmosphere is great in that one, and I don't know what the television station is announced, but say that game's on Fox or something, and it's nationally televised, and you win that. Like, it's just they need to find a way to pull an upset at some point against someone. Like they didn't have that last year. Even if they beat Michigan, it wouldn't be to the level, right? Because Michigan wasn't very good last year. 8-5, and but they had that crazy run where they beat Ohio State and Alabama to end the year. But in the middle of that season, they were rough. Like they didn't know who they were going to start at quarterback at the time. They went back to Davis Warren and he beat Michigan State. But the best win last year was what? Iowa? Like, Iowa's a solid program, but people joke about Iowa. People joke like, haha, punting, haha, bad offense. It's not one of those that recruits get super excited about, or people who are switching teams in the portal are like, oh, you beat those guys. So that's the next step, I think, for Jonathan Smith. And again, they're going to have their shots at it. They play Indiana, they play Penn State, they play Michigan. So I think if they can win one of those games, just one of them, any of them, any of those games, and you have a big step forward for this team, make a bowl game. You win the bowl game, great, but those are glorified exhibitions now, if you ask me. But still, they got to get to 6 wins, and I think they've got to find a way to get one big win against a ranked opponent, or get the Paul Bunyan Trophy or something. So yeah, bye week, enjoy it. There's a really good college football slate on today. Penn State plays in the whiteout against Oregon. I know I'm going to be enjoying just a nice afternoon of college football and some quality games that are on at the same time. Again, we'll be continuing to keep tuning in, to keep checking SpartanNation.com for the latest updates on the team and Michigan State athletics as a whole. Keep tuning in. We'll continue to talk about the Jonathan Smith era in depth. And once again, I'm Jacob Katzanika. Thank you guys for being around.